go down there a year later and see this organization and what the money did.
Okay, I'm sorry, but they keep asking more questions, so I'm going to give you two more. You just have to give me one
That's
more.
all right, I'm good.
People are, you know what I think people are so enthralled by, aside from, your obvious prominence in philanthropy, is that you are unabashedly honest and humble at the same time. I can see that this is not your self-definition entirely. But
can you hear?
Purpose to it.
I can't check the sound right now.
Torah says that when you give away, it never really takes away from what you have. Did you find that the more you gave, the better you did?
Absolutely. I mean, as I said, I keep, I'm in the real estate business, and everybody tells me retail's dead. I call it emerging. I don't think it's dead. I think it's emerging here, and there's a lot of opportunities. And I find the more people I help, the more I get helped. And I have and I find it to be very inspirational. And in today's world, if we're all pulling the same direction, we'll do a lot better.
There's a lot more questions, but that's such a beautiful place to end. I give you a blessing that your decision-making process is smooth, that you always see the fruits of your labors, that your children and the family around you are spring up like shoots from a vine, that you understand and know that what you're doing here on earth is making a difference in the world to come, in the spiritual world, and you are a role model for all of us. Michael, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I think I'm going to hit the red.
So I'm sure I got a lot of, and you can give people my phone number. I'd be happy to talk to anybody. Seriously, I do these talks, and you got my email. If people want to email me, call me. I'm good for something, for, most causes. I like to understand what they're doing and how I can make the world a better place. So, and I really mean that. I just find it fascinating how many people, given some advice and a little direction, will make better decisions. Again, no different than that principal when I was in Westside High School. No different. Why he picked me and said, "Hey, I'm going to help you," I wouldn't be sitting here today.
So just tell me, okay, so everybody wants your email address. We're going to have to put it in the chat.
Okay, I told you.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Okay, I'm good. You know what? I really am good. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. You want me to give it to you?
Why don't you say it out loud, and then I won't feel like I breach your privacy.
Okay, you're not going to breach my privacy. I just said it's MHS Michael Henry Steinberg, Michael Herschel Steinberg at TSG, the Steinberg Group Properties.com. Anybody can write me, and I have a rule. You'll get an email back within 24 hours. So,
You know what we need? We need, instead of a Shark Tank, or what do you call it? What's the name of the show in Canada? I think it's called the Shark Tank. What's it called in the States?
Shark Tank.
It's the Shark Tank. Same thing. We need a Sadaka Shark Tank. We need people like you who understand business, where people come on, philanthropies come on and pitch in order to find out whether their venture is worthy by somebody who has experience with that. And I think you should be, I want to be the host.
Okay. We'll find some other people.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It was just an honor and a joy to have you here today. And this conversation has been so inspiring. There have been so many questions and comments, and we certainly hope you'll see you again in the future. Please come back. And I want to thank the Steinberg Family Foundation once again for making this series on Generous Generations possible. I know that just listening to this man today has inspired me to open my wallet. Momentum? I'm cutting you a check. Okay, so please, all of you, join us next Monday evening. That's the 26th of April at 8 p.m. because our next boost is going to be incredible. It's called Fix Yourself First. How to repair the world by refining your own character and to improve the lives of others. You have to improve yourself first. Charity begins at home. Dr. Alan Moranis, who is the founder of the Moser Institute, a brilliant writer and lecturer and one of my role models in the world, and my dear friend and momentum educator, Ruchi Koval, are going to share the wisdom of the Musar movement. And momentum educator Ruchi Koval is going to tell us more along with him about that ancient Jewish practice of boosting your joy and your gratitude and your capacity to help others through spiritual awareness and character refinement. Now, I'm asking you to please just take one quick moment and fill out the poll that's going to come up on your screens right now. It really helps us to know if everything is relevant and the content is right. But in the meantime, for myself, Adrienne Gold Davis, and all of us at Momentum, please remember, as we learn and we grow and we give together, that the highest form of wisdom will always be kindness.
All right, I'm going to go back to the beginning because I was watching the news coverage of the first day of Portland Public Schools for high school and middle school since March 13th of last year. They're going back Tuesday, Thursday afternoon, or Monday, Wednesday afternoon for 2.5 hours if they choose hybrid. And if they change their mind and go back to only online learning for the rest of the year, they can't go back. You can't keep going back and forth. So,
Judy?
oh, she's still on? Okay, she ended the webinar, but okay. Does that mean, okay, let me find the replay. Let me see what this text says. All right. Can you hear? Because I couldn't tell if you could hear that okay, but let me go back to, I was on the actual webinar, so I'm going to go to their Facebook page and see if this was posted and we can listen to the beginning. Videos. Let me go to the right page. Okay, it says, from bagging, joy and gratitude, from bagging groceries to giving big. Using gratitude to change the world. How to turn your children into givers. Michael Stanberg. Believes he is the luckiest, world's luckiest guy. It is with this attitude of gratitude that he has become one of the world's leading philanthropists, approaching every project with a vision for quality communities and Tikkun Olam. On tonight's Boost, Michael joins us to share the experiences that became the stepping stones to his success and how we can search for our own life-changing moments and learn to step up for others. All right. It was 38 minutes and 25 seconds, and how much of it did we already hear? Maybe, how long's my broadcast been on? 8 minutes? So maybe we heard 8 minutes of it, so we'll listen to it from the beginning. I see there's 4 people listening with me. Thank you. How's your Monday going? Hello to the replay viewers. I think I have a call starting in 6, but let me check. Be brilliant and shine with heart and with mind. This world is waiting for the change you bring. Momentum is strong, and the road that we're on changes everything. I'll share this to my Facebook page too. Wolfruff, you forgot to check into your account yesterday. Where are you? That's okay, though. Hello. We're listening. Oh, thank you, Woof Woof, for the appreciate reaction. All right. I'm going to check my schedule.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Momentum Boost. I'm your host, Adrienne Gold Davis, and I'm thrilled that you decided to join us tonight. So I want to welcome you to our third boost in our 5-part series on giving and on gratitude. It's called Generous Generation, How to Turn Your Children into Givers. And this series was made possible by the Steinberg Family Foundation. Now, here at Momentum, the month of April is dedicated to the value of joy and gratitude. And did you know that the Talmud lists 10 words to describe joy, and that each one of those words eliminates no other facet of it? Just as we learned that the Eskimos have so many different names for snow because it's so ubiquitous, well, we Jews are so fixated on joy and simcha that we just can't describe enough of their own differences and nuances. We have to have a word for all of it. Now, simcha is considered the broadest word of all for joy. It means complete happiness in its fullest sense, and it's future-oriented. Why? Because it's often used as a way of describing the happiness that you feel when you meet a milestone, like a wedding or a bar bat mitzvah. They're called simchas. I'm going to a simcha. They fill us with simcha, with joy of fulfilled potential, and they celebrate the upcoming fruits of that potential. Well, today, we're bringing you a story of a man who considers himself to be the luckiest guy alive. He is filled with joy and gratitude, and he shares his joy and his fortune as one of the world's preeminent philanthropists. He is proof that, as we always say here at Momentum, givers are happy people. So the word for charity in Hebrew is tzedakah. It comes from the root word tzedek, which means righteousness, fairness, and justice. It differs a lot from the word charity, which is derived from the late Latin caritas, which means generous love, and from the Latin carus, which means dear and beloved. So what would you say is the difference between fairness and righteousness versus dear and beloved love?
Hello.
Charity is driven by emotion. It's the result of being moved and emotionally inspired. But tzedakah is a fundamental obligation of an ethical basis. Tzedakah is a mitzvah. It's an obligation of connection between humankind and God. And it's not left up to our hearts alone to do what feels right. It's commanded of us. And according to Jewish law, between 10 and 20% of your after-tax money doesn't belong to you. You're meant to use this income to correct the profound imbalance in the world. You're meant to help the needy and uplift the less fortunate. And when you fulfill that obligation with joy and with gratitude, well, then you see one of the highest forms of it, and you're compelled to learn from it and make your children learn from it, because we need to raise givers. Well, on today's boost, Michael Steinberg is with us, and he's going to join us and share the experiences that actually became the stepping stones to his own success, and how we can search for our own life-changing moments and learn to step up for others. I want to thank you, Michael, and the Steinberg Family Foundation for sponsoring this Generous Generation series. We are grateful, and one day, God willing, all our kids will be grateful too. So a quick bio. Michael Steinberg is the founder and the president of the Steinberg Group. He's widely known as a leader, as a visionary, and a philanthropist. He's achieved unprecedented success in the commercial real estate sector. He's helped to create quality communities nationwide. He's contributed to hundreds of nonprofit organizations throughout the United States and Israel through his dedication to philanthropy and his deep, authentic desire for tikkun olam, to heal the world. Now, I know you're going to want to ask him a question, so you just type it into the chat box on the right. But I'm going to welcome Michael with my first question. How on earth did you go from a grocery bagging boy to one of the world's great philanthropists? Tell me that.
Well, thank you. It's an interesting story. So it really all started that everybody can see the little red coat behind the piece of art that I had made in honor of my dad. So growing up in Omaha, Nebraska, we were a conservative family, religious, and Bethel Synagogue, went every Friday night and Saturday. And so you couldn't, my dad, I wanted that coat. My dad said, well, you have to work for it. And he owned a sixplex apartment. He says, I'll pay you 25 cents an hour. It's $10 a coat, 40 hours. I'm a smart kid. I'm 10 years old. And I think, okay, I'm going to get that coat. So I worked that 40 hours, and I'm really proud. And, it's Friday afternoon. You can't do business in shops. So my dad comes in and says, and he always used to call us young men, my brothers and I, young man, come on in. So we sat at the table, and he takes 10 $1 bills out. I said, I'm saying to myself, this isn't going to go well. Something's not right here. He puts 5 in a pile, he puts 3 in a pile, and he puts 2 in a pile. And he says, which pile would you like to start with? I said, sir, it's up to you. He says, well, let's start with the 5. That's yours. Congratulations. I'm thinking, this is congratulations. I need 10. I'm not quite there. And he says, the 3, we're partners. You like the roof over your head? You like the food on the table? Thank you for being my partner. And the 2, he says, we're not a 10% family. The Torah tells us we're a 20% family. So thank you for allowing the synagogue tonight to get the $2. And immediately I ran upstairs crying. Went underneath the bunk beds thinking, this is just not right. He comes up and says, young man, you have a choice. You can get up and join me at the synagogue, or you can sit here, but I would recommend you get up because you have a chance to work another 40 hours. So I worked the next 40 hours and got that red coat. But unfortunately, that was a lesson I learned from my dad early on about giving. We wouldn't go to the synagogue ever without something to put in that tzedakah box. It was a bad situation if you didn't have a penny, a nickel, or a dime. And we were always taught that we were more fortunate than anyone else. We grew up in a house, probably 1,400 square feet, 4 kids, small little house. My dad hadn't made any money. He was starting out in the apartment business, but he always told us, you got to remember there are people less fortunate. You have a roof over your head, you have food on the table. Please respect what you know and respect your religion. The Jewish religion is important. So that's how I grew up in Omaha.
My goodness. So are you telling me that it was your father's vision built through his attachment to Judaism that you had profound gratitude for what you had, and because you were grateful for what you had, you shared it with others? How long did it take you to get that coat? I'm now obsessed with that coat.
That coat only took 2 months. I got it in 2 months. But, my dad was a great role model, a hard worker, and I wouldn't be who I am today. But unfortunately, when I was 13 years old, he passed away. And it changed the whole dynamics of the family. And so when you say I went from bagging groceries, there was a grocery store called Hinky Dinky, and I was a bagger. I had a lot of different jobs, but I did not have the perfect childhood because I was kind of left unattended. We just didn't have a lot of money, so I was always doing work and different things. So the good news is I had a lot of people who took interest in me. And one of the things I think really made me who I am today is that people took interest and told me when I was doing dumb things or tried to give me advice in the right way. It's not only about money, but it's, being able to look in the mirror and say, you did the right thing. And to do the right thing continuously. A quick story, I'm in high school, and Westside High School, and it was from sophomore, junior, and senior. And the principal calls me in his office and says, "Congratulations." I'm thinking, well, okay. He said, "You're 401." I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "We only keep the top 400. Is there a problem here?" So he paid me to come study with him. And without him doing that, Dr. Phelps, I would not be where I am today.
Wait a minute,
So
he paid you?
He paid me $1 an hour so that I would study, and I graduated the top 10 people in the class to, from Westside High School. So it was an interesting growing up. That was the first person. So there's a lot of role models I've had, Jewish and not Jewish, to show that it's not just about money and tzedakah, but they gave their time, which to me is tzedakah. So there's a lot of things that, I learned growing up. And so I've made a lot of good decisions, and some not such good decisions. But I always had that remembering my dad, how important it was, and my mom, how important it was to give the tzedakah. And how to give. If you didn't have any money, you could give your time, you could give your word, you could do a lot of things. And the other day I redid the JCC in Kansas City, and there's a woman named Sue Ellen Freed, and she wrote me a very moving email. And I'll condense it down. And she thanked me for what I did. She said she was at Passover thinking about the 10 plagues. And she said, thankfulness comes from the heart. Gratitude comes from the soul. And you have a good soul. So that really, that's what makes this giving so great. I tell people I don't give to get, I give to give. And, earlier we were talking about Mort Mandel.
Yeah.
And so, kind of a little other story. He was the Babe Ruth of giving. The Mandel Institute, did a lot in Cleveland, and I wanted to go see him. And I called up and I just picked up the phone to go see him because I am intrigued by people that are successful that know what to do with their money. So I went down to Palm Beach. He told me before I got there I had 20 minutes. And when I got to the door, he says, "I only have 20 minutes." And he says, "What can I do?" But before we start, and he's a 5'5" guy, and I'm 6'3", and he kind of puts his arm around me and says, "So I got one question before we start." I'm thinking, okay, well, this could be interesting. I'm looking at this beautiful art in this house. I like art. And he says, "Why do you give?" And without hesitation, I said, "Because it makes me feel good." And for the next 7 to 8 hours, I did not leave Mort Mandel's house.
Is it because you told the truth?
Because that's how I felt. I told the truth. That's how I feel about giving. It makes me feel good. Just the little things. And it's not the millions of dollars that people, I prefer to give a smaller amount of money to make a big difference than a large check. But I want to impact people. That's what I'm trying to do. To show people and set the bar high and show people they can do this. This isn't about writing $1 million check, which I've done, or a $5 million check. I've done plenty of those. But I'd rather give the $18,000 check or the $36,000 check or whatever to move people to say, "I can do this. Let me be the next Mike Steinberg. How do I see what he's done?" And I don't need my name on any more buildings. I'm good. I've had plenty of that. And I really feel that it's important to give. And there's a gentleman, another mentor of mine, Tommy Green, who said to me 25 years ago, "Quit giving anonymously. Put your name on it. Show people who you are and show people that you can give." And I did. And, he was a great mentor. I emailed him. I've had some great Jewish mentors in my life that have taught me about this.
Okay, I have a question. You said that you give because it feels good to give. How did you know before you gave the first time that it would feel good? You gave because that was what your father taught you. You kept giving because it felt good? Is that what
it felt good? You know what? I could feel the good. And you know what? It made me feel good because that's experience with that red coat. I knew I could work again, and I knew I could get that coat. So I had an opportunity to do that. And I knew that if I continued that, and, I remember my dad every day, and, I just wish he lived longer than when I was 13. But I don't think I'd be the person I am today and what I've done without that. And I just remember how good I felt. It actually felt good giving that $2. That was the largest amount of money I'd ever given to Bethel Synagogue, taking those $2 when I was 10 years old. So that's kind of how I started.
So somebody just asked, the chat function's blowing up with questions for you. Somebody wants to know how and where, how do you decide who you give your money to?
It's evolved. We have, I get my personal money, we have a foundation. We just have a lot of different ways we give. And you know what? It's evolved. Today it's more about, I used to give a lot to capital campaigns. I've been involved in 5 JCCs. I've built 3 synagogues, Chabad House, 3 museums, 3 Jewish day schools. I've built a lot of different I just built a mikvah. I didn't know anything about a mikvah, but now I do. I'm good. Don't anybody ask me to do that. I've been asked. I'm good.
We're going to take Israel with Charlie Harari. He'll get you in the in
right. But I now think about how can I make a difference? How do I make operationally a difference? I've been working with Amy Holtz, who's a dear friend of mine. Never met her. I met her through Momentum and some other things, and the Jewish Pledge. And so she has this EOS. So I said, let me fund to make these Jewish organizations better. I'm interested in doing that. And her family has the Anything grants. And we go in and say that, and I'm trying to encourage young people. When I say young people, 20 to 30, 25 to 35, and I give them $50,000 to $75,000 in 3 communities: Omaha, Denver, and St. Louis. I said, you make the decisions where the money goes. But we're not just going to give. It can be any Jewish organization. It can be a bathroom. It can be a computer system. Anything that has a Jewish organization. But they have to raise half of the money that they're asking for, not to exceed $5,000, to get the grant. And they have to show us they did make a difference. And I'm trying to encourage those young people to know what it means to give money, and maybe they'll be encouraged to give money.
Okay, Michael, so you were blessed to have a father. May he rest in peace. He left this earth too soon. But obviously the dividends of what he taught you are paying around the world. For those of us who perhaps didn't have parents for whom that was a key core value, how did you pass on your father's message? What was the red coat of raising your own children? And how would you suggest we create a red coat environment in our homes so our children will go out, get their own red coat, and then give some away?
It's a difficult question because, I'm sure my kids, I try to show them and take them to events with me and show them what they could do. And not just events to give money, but to show them you can go to the food pantry and work at the food pantry, or you can, deliver meals to someone. I'm proud of my daughter who lives in New York. She's a waitress once a week for a homeless shelter. She is the waitress. And she's, and then she, of course, gives money, but she started as the waitress, and that's important. And they're probably tired. My 3 daughters are probably tired of hearing from me on this. But I think it's important as a parent, and my wife has done that and made sure that people know how important it is to do good and to be part of something good. And if you're a good role example, that's great. The problem I have with a lot of my friends is this is second generation money. This is my money. My kids have second generation money. And I never want them to say, well, my parents did this. No, it's your responsibility. And being part of the Jewish, being part of the JCC or the synagogue or the Federation or whatever Jewish organization, we as Jews have a certain spiritual and religious belief that we have a certain way to conduct ourselves. I know there's 613 mitzvahs in the. I get that, and I try to tell my kids, look, there's positive ones and some negative ones, but how do we make a difference? And don't think you're the luckiest people that have this kind of money. And I tell people I try to mentor 3 or 4 Jewish kids every year, and say to them, how are you going to make a difference? You don't have a lot of money. Pick something that you're going to make a difference on. But if you're going to get involved, do it. Just don't talk about it, but actually do it.
Do you think the fact that you've made your own money made a difference in your relationship with giving it away? Perhaps, I mean, a lot of people, obviously, as you explained before, the Torah says that between 10 to 20%, or 20% in the Steinberg household, of your after-tax dollars it's not for you. It's share. But many people, Michael, tell me that they're very anxious about giving tzedakah, not because they don't want to, but because they're afraid that if there's a rainy day, if something goes wrong, that there won't be anything there for them. Do you think that the fact that you worked so hard yourself made you believe that hard work is what earns an income? Can you help me?
I never worry about money. I've never worried, even when I was making $1,000 a month. I knew if I worked harder and worked smarter, I could always make more money. I've given away half of my net worth in the last 10 years. Not 20%. I just said, you know what? My kids have plenty. Everybody has plenty. How many cars do you need? I don't need any new houses. I'm going to give it away. And they know, everybody knows that the rest of the money is going to charity. And it's important, you need to do it now. The Warren Buffett, I remember I grew up in Omaha, and I remember listening, he was going to keep his money until he died because he could make more. He finally, did the pledge. No different than Mike Levin and Amy Holtz on the Jewish funders. I want to, and I really believe that the money I'm giving away, 70% at least is going to Jewish causes. And I say to people, if we don't help ourselves, who's going to help us? And so I really have that. I have that, and that's it. And we as Jews, we have a lot of, it's no different than the political parties out there in America. But, we as Jews have, if you have 10 Jews, you have 20 opinions. But I always tell everybody, same tent, different door. So let's figure out how we get the same tent and really make a difference.
Momentum, an organization that obviously you're speaking for right now, and that one of our core values is unity without uniformity. Big tent, different door sort of thing. And one of the things we try and teach all of the hundreds of thousands of people around the world that we're impacting is that generosity and gratitude and giving makes people happier. So I want to ask you, was your nature a happy one? Or did your happiness increase as you became more and more of a giver?
I think it's been, I've always...
All right, I'm pausing this because I have a call that started 2 minutes ago. So bye, everybody.